So how do you know when to stop? That's the question.
Never stop. Never stop until the ideas stop coming.
No, I mean like finish the book. You know, how do you know when you've...
So that's a very interesting question. It's not exactly like a voice in my head, because I'm not trying to get institutionalized, but it's more of, I kind of like to think of it as like a teapot in my head, that when I'm writing, the teapot is pouring out.
Yeah.
And just so, you know, when you're pouring the tea out of the teapot, you can feel the weight getting lighter.
Yeah.
And you can kind of feel when it's nearing the end.
This podcast is brought to you by Rebecca Cassells of the Rising Dawn series. Do you like violence? Do you like smut? Are you tired of the stereotypical novels of werewolf romance out there and want something a little bit different? Then pick up Sparked Revolution, Book 1 in the Rising Dawn series by Rebecca Cassells. Available on Amazon, in Kindle, and paperback. You too can become a sponsor of Stories, The True and the Fictional by heading on over to buymeacoffee.com/STTATF or follow the link in the show notes.
Hello guys and welcome to this episode of Story Chat. I am your host Jay O'Brien. With me is Ryan. How are we doing, Ryan?
I'm good, mate. Yourself?
Living the dream.
Living the dream.
Living the dream. I say that a lot. Before we bring in our guest, don't forget to check out our other episodes, the Middle Ages Comic Hour and Stories, The True and the Fictional, all on the same feed. Check them out. Got something for everyone on this podcast. But today with us, or tonight, we have James Michels. How are we?
Good. How are you doing today?
Well, I'd say living the dream, but I've already said that.
You say that every week.
Well, I'll think of something
every time we
next
do an episode. Yeah.
That's it. Well, thanks for joining us, James. As all our listeners would know, that we love to do icebreakers, especially with guests when they come on. So we're going to hit you up with some icebreakers if you're ready.
I'm ready. Hit me.
Okay, number one. If you could get rid of one thing in the world, what would it be?
I would get rid of Halloween trick-or-treat buckets.
Yep.
It's very specific.
So
excellent. Elaborate. Just leave it like that, and that's it. That's it. That's your answer. No elaboration. Halloween treat buckets, and then you could, next time you come back on, people are going to be messaging us saying, "Why Halloween treat bucket?" No, elaborate, James. Elaborate.
Sorry. Yeah, the reason why is because I always went trick-or-treating with a pillowcase, get candy. And so why go get a bucket when you can just go get a pillowcase and get more candy that way?
Yes, I can see that.
I took my oldest trick-or-treating and I got him one of his pillowcases off his bed. I said, "We don't need a bucket, son. Take this. Fill this up."
Yeah.
It's not comfy to sleep on, but
we don't.
Yeah.
Well, we don't really. We sort of. I guess Australia's been late to the party Halloween style over here. We never I remember when I was a kid, we never really did it. We wasn't a thing. Any time I asked my dad, he's like, "We don't live in America, so we're not doing it." So, but yeah, it's I think slowly but surely. It's sort of integrated its way into Australian society where, I mean, we still haven't had any at our place, but it's weird. It's like I love Halloween mainly because I'm a massive horror fan, but it's just we never really got to experience the whole trick-or-treating thing.
Well, on the plus side, you guys won't be as effective if I go all Thanos on all the Halloween trick-or-treat baskets.
Yeah, true.
That's true.
Never thought about that.
They actually.
And then when it becomes a thing, we'll be able to start with the pillowcases.
Yes. Yeah. Well, they actually do Halloween up at the park near me. So slowly it's coming in. Apparently it's getting more popular. But well, my town's perfect for trick or treating, and but now they put a notice out that you got to if you have candy, you got to tie a red ribbon to your letterbox or something to let kids know, because a lot of our place, nearly every house in my town has dogs, and it's like the front gate, and so you got to get past the dogs if you want to knock on the door, and it's
Over here, we just have them. Whoever's participating, they just turn the porch light on.
Oh, that's cool.
Okay, makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
It's a lot less effort than just putting some red ribbon around. I mean, I wish we would be smart enough to do that.
Yeah, but the thing is, during Halloween time, the sun doesn't go down till.
Oh yeah, true. Yeah, we're weird.
Yeah,
we're weird. We're weird over here. We don't get dark until really late. At the moment, I think even with daylight savings, where it doesn't really get dark till about 8 o'clock. Yeah, about 8 o'clock at the moment. So yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
It's about 6 o'clock over here.
And then the
oh wow!
By 6
I wish
PM,
it was
it's pitch
6
black.
o'clock.
And then it's like with Christmas, it's like midsummer here,
Yeah.
and we still get people dressed as Santa. And you're going, aren't you dying, sir?
Oh, you got Santa over there. Okay, cool.
Oh yeah, it's a given. But what he does, I don't know if this happens in your part of the world, but at least in my town, and I know in smaller towns, Santa rides around in a fire truck and waves to people.
He doesn't do that here. Maybe some parades, but usually he's just kind of waiting at the mall, and then he does his thing with the sleigh on Christmas Eve, and that's about it.
Yeah.
That's about it over here.
I mean, I do forget that I live in a town with like 1,800 people, so it's tiny.
We were actually just at a parade about an hour ago with the kids, and we were waiting to see Santa, but it was getting really cold. It was okay. I haven't gotten the measurements. I know we go by different temperature variations. It was about 40 degrees Fahrenheit where I'm at. So one of us will have to Google that later, and then you'll go, "Oh wow, that's freezing."
I'll throw it up on the screen if I remember.
Okay. For reference. Awesome.
Yeah. Oh, Ryan, do you want to take the next one? Next question.
Yeah, no worries. Okay, so this is a nice simple one. What's something that's on your bucket list?
On my bucket list? Let's see. I want to be on I want to go on the Joe Rogan podcast.
Oh, okay. Oh, really?
Huge.
Okay. Well, you're a big Rogan fan?
Off and on, like I don't listen to everybody that he brings on.
Yeah.
I just kind of like how the conversation goes when you just kind of sit there and just like, talk about just life and just how weird some systems are that we kind of think is not weird. And he's like, hey, it's kind of weird how we all do this at such and such times. And it makes you think like, yeah, that is weird. Why do we do that? I don't know. I just found that I just find it interesting. It's kind of just depending on who he brings on, and just gives me a new perspective. Yeah.
Well, it's quite random with like who he gets on there from time. Like he'll have Robert Downey Jr. on there, and then he'll have Jordan Peterson, and it's just like he'll talk to anyone. So
yeah, he had Rob Zombie on one time. It was a very good episode.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. Rob Zombie, real down to earth guy. Just
he has
some like. Yeah, he says like, he makes movies. He was funny too because he had this one reference where he's talking about his movies and how they get successful, and he's like, it's just so funny that some of them get successful. In my head, it's like, wow, I fooled them again.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's such a. I'm a big Rob Zombie fan. I love all his movies, love his music, and yeah, it's. He has to be one of my, like, if I really need something to cheer me, I know it's weird horror, but to cheer me up, I'll go for one of his like House of a Thousand Corpses or Devil's Rejects or 31 or something like that. And he's a really, if you watch I've watched a series on you guys have got Shudder over there. with Eli Ross's House of Horror, and they have a sit down interview with him about his version of Halloween. And really, really down. Not the kind of guy you would expect, the voice you would expect to come out of, that sadistic, creative mind that he has. Really
Right.
down to earth guy, really big family man, and all that kind of stuff. So, yeah, it's definitely. I'll have to check. I'm not a massive Joe Rogan fan, but I'll have to go and search out that episode and give that a listen. I think that'll be really good.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, that's a good thing. That's a good thing about it, though. You don't have to like Joe Rogan. It's just it's an interesting conversation,
Yeah,
Right.
I'm not a massive Joe Rogan fan myself, unfortunately, but
See, I didn't know who he was. This is how sheltered I am. I didn't know who he was until there was this podcast. I go, oh, okay, so he was this guy, before the podcast,
Yeah.
But, yeah. All right, let's get to the laughing part and the most judgmental part of all the icebreakers. Sees Ryan's face. He's beginning to form into his judge guy.
Yeah.
So, James, what is the greatest sitcom ever made?
I would have to say probably All in the Family.
Right.
It was have you guys seen this sitcom?
I've heard of it, but I've never actually seen it myself.
We've actually had this answer before.
So it was a sitcom that came out. Okay, you guys probably know it was a sitcom that aired in the U.S. During the 70s, and the titular character is Archie Bunker, who is this pre-World War II generation who the biggest running not gag, but the running trope in the show is that his daughter's boyfriend, who would then become his son-in-law, Michael, is a baby boomer, kind of born after the events of World War II. And what's amazing about it is you just have these two very different generations constantly butting heads, represented by Archie and Michael. And then Archie is this, he's very conservative, just totally, everything, hates, the Jimmy Carter at the time. And then Michael is just a pure liberal, American liberal. And just, I don't know. I just love it, especially me. I'm kind of like an amateur history buff, especially in U.S. history between the industrial age up until the modern times. And it's just fascinating just kind of watching these two representatives of these two different generations just constantly you really kind of see the perspective of where they both come from, especially during that time period. It was a very rough time period in our life, given that most of the 70s was we were still in the Vietnam War, which ended, I believe, in about 76. And that was it was one of the first times we had the Korean War, which wasn't as talked about, and then World War II, everybody supported the military, and then in Vietnam it was very divided. So it's just a very fascinating time, very good show, a lot of humor, and even at the end of the day, though they butted heads all the time, there was still that love they had for each other.
Cool.
So I think I'd say that one's the greatest.
Awesome.
I also love Boy Meets World.
Okay, well.
Yeah.
Number 2.
Okay. All right.
Sorry, one of our last guests gave us 4, so we're like,
that's fine.
These are the runner-ups. Yeah. All right. What's the next question?
All right, well, question number 4 is: what would be your zombie apocalypse plan?
I've thought about this. So either both of them. So it's two strategies. Both of them would be very violent. One, I would try to recruit people to go and start taking back small towns with that are filled with zombies, and then try to recruit other people as we're going along until eventually we can take back not a major city, but larger towns, so that we can rebuild some settlements and try to establish perimeters to keep them out. The other strategy is I would be a raider. I would just be one of those people that because I don't have really any survival skills, so I can't go out in the woods. I would die. So I really I would have no choice but to join a raider group. And it's unfortunate, but I have to be honest with myself. I probably wouldn't be Rick Grimes. I would be more like not Negan. I wouldn't go that far, but I would probably be a raider.
I'd probably be the chick from Zombieland 2 that lived in the mall. Have you seen Zombieland 2?
I've seen it. Yeah. It was my opinion is it was just as good as Zombieland.
Oh yeah, 100%.
It wasn't. It wasn't better, but it wasn't worse. It was it was the same just quality. As good. It's right. It's like I would say watch them both together.
Yeah. Well, that's like me with Back to the Future. I cannot pick a favorite. They're all good movies,
Yes, definitely.
Now look at that. Speaking of time travel, Mr. Elon Musk calls you up and offers you to test drive his new electric time machine. Because let's face it, if someone was going to make a time machine, it would be Elon Musk and it would be electric. So what do you do? Where do you go?
Would I be able to go back to my
anyway?
Time?
You got one trip back and forth.
Back and forth,
or forward and back, whichever way you want to say it.
Man, I'd probably go back and give Bill Gates his first $5,000.
Wow!
And say, hey, okay, Bill, I'm giving you $5,000. I want a percentage of the company. It can be 1%. I want a percentage, and then go back. No, honestly, if I had to go back, I would really want to. I would really want to see America in late 1880s into the 1910s. America itself, it really didn't become this kind of like big, huge, like economic superpower that it was until actually a little later in its life. We didn't just, become an independent nation. All of a sudden we were seen as so amazing. It was really around like the late 1800s when characters like Carnegie and Rockefeller, Vanderbilt, Ford, when these characters came out and really just kind of these Morgan, these few select men kind of really just really like they built America. There's a documentary series about these men. I would love to see I would love to like shadow these men, just kind of like see like what is in the mindset of such a person that's able to do these amazing feats, but it's also a very controversial character because all of them were very controversial characters. So probably around that time, late 1880s into the early 1920s.
Nice.
Okay. I like that. And there's nothing stopping you from, swinging by Bill Gates' palace on the way back and giving him a couple of grand and just saying, hey, just invest in this thing and, you make a little bit of money on the way back.
Oh, you have to do the back to the future thing. And like, so you only get one trip, but write a note, put some money in it, and then leave it with the post office and they'll hand it to him at a specific date and specific time. Awesome. Well, that's the icebreakers done. So I think you passed. A lot of good answers there.
Awesome.
Now let's get on to why you're here.
In 1932, the Australian Army declared war on 20,000 emus and lost. It's a part of Australian history that not many know about. Maybe that's because history is written by those who win. So if you want to hear the full story of the Great Emu War of 1932, then check out my book, Letters from the Emu War. Read letters, newspaper articles, and journal entries. With every turn of the page, you will gain a deeper understanding of the life and times of emus at war. So head on over to jabryden.com and grab a signed copy today.
You're an author. You've written a whole lot of books. So where did that journey start for you? How'd you get into writing?
Well, I'm actually a bit of a late bloomer. I didn't start writing until I was 25. Before then, I was actually very interested in criminal justice, and I was planning on becoming a police officer. I ended up instead joining the Department of Corrections, which, as a disclaimer, because I've mentioned that and I still work there. Anything I say on here is not my anything I say on here is only my opinion. Doesn't reflect that of the department. I'm not a spokesman. So this is all just me. I'm not representing them in any way. So I started working there, and just after a while, I was really getting comfortable with the job. And I realized that I really didn't have a desire to move upward in the department or apply for another job. And I kind of realized that eventually around that time I started growing a family. I got married. I started having kids. And I don't know. I just started like looking for challenges for myself kind of outside of work. I'm going to, maybe I'll learn a language, or I will take a class, or I'll write a book. And I've always been an avid reader ever since I was a kid, especially with true crime and crime thriller. And I just, on a lark, I started writing. And I had no idea where I was going with it. I just started writing. I started with chapter 1. And halfway through the book, I realized, wow, this book's getting pretty long. I thought it was going to be a one and done. I'm going to have to make this into a series. And then I had other ideas start popping up in my head. And I realized, wow, like this is really something. And I realized that was the part of me that I was kind of missing all my life was, of the question of what am I naturally good at? And it was surprising because I wouldn't have thought writing would have been my talent, because I didn't like it when I was in high school. But back then that was because you're writing what they're telling you to write. They pick the topic, you write about it, and then you get your grade. But looking back at it now, there were some telltale signs that I didn't think about back then that are so blatant obvious to me now. When I was a teenager, I did kind of start writing a book. And 3 weeks later, I threw it off and said, okay, this is silly, I'm done. But that was actually what made me finish my first book. I remembered that and I said, okay, I quit the last time I tried. I'm not quitting this time. Like, I'm going to see this through. And I also realized that in high school, middle school, whatever, whenever I was given a writing subject that was totally free will, my idea only, I did very well in it. One such project was, have you guys ever read The Outsiders?
Yeah, no, not personally.
There was a project where my teacher made us write an extra chapter in the book, push the ending back a little bit. And I did that, and I got like an A+ on the project. Wow. So, it was those instances back in my teenage years that, again, by themselves, I didn't think anything of it. And now they're just so obvious to me. And I just delved into it. This talent became my desired career. And 5 years later, at the age of 30, I have 5 published books. Wow. So yeah, it's been an amazing ride.
Yeah, sounds like it.
But I think you hit the nail on the head. If it's forced, like when you're in high school and you have to write, and it's like, okay, this is a topic you're going to write about. This is how many pages, whatever you got to do. That's not where the passion comes from. I think it's when you get to use your own free will and your own ideas and creativity, and and all of that, where it actually becomes more of a passion and more interesting and can hold. As you said, you ended up finishing the book, and it's now, you're up to 5. So I think you hit the nail on the head. It didn't really, because it's not something that a lot of people would see as a passion if you're forced to do it.
Right.
You know what I mean? So I think when you make the decision, I want to write, and I'm going to do this for something that I want to do, it's always going to come out better.
Definitely, I agree with that.
Awesome. So, what are some of your influences, or like, obviously you started writing. Was there anyone that you kind of drew inspiration from, like any favorite authors?
Mario Puzo, who wrote the Godfather. I loved the romantic way that he portrays his gangster characters, and as somebody who many of my characters are gangsters, even some of my protagonists, it was very. I love the romanticism, the old dramatic, just kind of beautiful way that that he writes these men, like almost as if they're the good guys. Like Don Corleone, Michael, when really they're actually like dangerous people. They've killed men, had men killed, but we love them for it. Similar to like Tony Soprano. I like James Patterson. I think his growing up, I followed his Alex Cross series, and that was a big influence for me, was following the Alex Cross series, because the way he wrote Alex Cross, especially as a kid, it's like you kind of grow up with that character, especially him and his family. Yeah. And that's really something I want to do with my own series, my ICE series, is create a protagonist that the reader kind of feels like they're really growing with, that they're on the ride with this person. Granted, in a much different setting, because my protagonist in the ICE series is a villain. He's actually he starts off as a young criminal, and then he becomes a crime boss. But it sort of has the Breaking Bad-esque style to it. So where you kind of understand where he's coming from, but you don't condone his actions, and then you just watch as he's hit with event after event that kind of brings out that corruption and throws him further and further down the hole as he rises in power in the underworld.
With the Godfathers, is that what got you into the whole crime thriller, crime stories that you write, or was that something you thought about prior to that?
Partially. Godfather is my favorite movie series, one of my favorite books, but I was also interested in true crime. So I also followed writers like T.J. English, who wrote about like the Cuban mafia, the Irish mob, the mafia's time in Havana, Cuba. And I've always been interested in that world, whether in the nonfiction or the fictional world. Probably because it's not something that I was really well acquainted with growing up. So it's like this almost like an alternate reality, like a different way that you see the world that most people don't see. And for me, it was just very fascinating. And I think that's what really got me into kind of pursuing criminal justice in the beginning of my life. Because I was always I just wanted to learn more about it and really get into the psychology of it. And it's a very fascinating subject. So I wanted to kind of, and most of my protagonists are more on the criminal side. So, it kind of gives the reader more of that perspective.
And do you find that with the profession that you're in corrections, does that give you a better sort of insider knowledge of how things work on that side of things so that you can write about, not in terms of true, but you know what I mean, like to give you more of an insight on how the correction system work so that you can incorporate that into your novels?
I would say that it didn't necessarily give me the inspiration to write my characters, but it's in one of my books, which was my third book, Ice Box. That book is a prison thriller, so it helped me to kind of give it the authenticity that it needed, and that's important for me in my books. Is like I like to kind of give the authenticity when it's needed, and then really give the extreme kind of almost fantasy situations and kind of mix them together. With Icebox, it was really my way of, even though I'm more of a writer for entertainment purposes, I don't really write my books to send out like big messages, like, you know, stay out of crime or whatever. My books are largely just to enthrall and entertain readers, people who enjoy that, my type of writing. But Icebox for me was my chance to really send a message out to the world, which was the portrayal of corrections officers. In most movies, TV shows, whatnot, corrections officers are displayed in a very negative light. They're kind of seen as goons or very corrupt or very inadequate and incompetent at their jobs. And in Icebox, they're seen as more of a neutral entity within the prison. I mean, they're of course, you know, because Icebox, my protagonist at this point, who starts off in Ice Rising, my debut novel, he starts off on the street, initially gaining his power, building up his reputation. Icebox, the sequel, he's in prison. Whenever he comes across the staff, like I said, it's very done in a more neutral, more professional manner. They're not making like snide remarks or totally abusing him. The first officer he meets when he's in prison is the officer that watches the block that my character's living on, and he tells me, he says, "Listen, I'm not here to make your life harder. Just let me do my time, you do yours. But if I have to come down on you, I will." And I think that's a more accurate portrayal of most officers. They're there to go and they do the job. They take it seriously. They respect the job. They're not looking to really, you know, crack down on everybody for everything. But if it comes down to it, they will do what they have to do. So that was a big thing for me. I just got sick of seeing, especially, I think the worst one that did that was Orange is the New Black. Have you guys seen that show?
Yep. Yeah, definitely love that show.
Yeah. All the officers in that show are just seen as just, they all have issues and they're all corrupt and they're all incompetent. They're all just crazy. Even the ones that are good end up getting involved in something they're not supposed to. And it's just, I just kind of watched that. I said, wow, this is not a show for me at all.
Yeah, no, well, me and Ryan are pretty much the same when it comes to the historic movies. Like, you go, that's not accurate. That's not like inaccuracies of film, and you know, when they portray people in a way that's not accurate, it's a little annoying. You know, I can get that.
Right. Just being there for so long, you just kind of feel some type of way when somebody who may not be that well versed in that world just kind of says, "Oh, this is what they're like." Because I've seen Shawshank Redemption, so it must be just like that.
Yeah, well, that'd be the way. Like
exactly
instead of doing actual research, they just watch a movie and go, "Oh, they did it that way," so and it just trickles down the movies, and you're just like, "Come on, it doesn't just go talk to someone," you know?
Right, exactly. Ask me.
Just do a little bit of research.
Yeah. It's not that hard, but you know, they never do it. Let's dive into some of your books. Like, tell us about them. Like, are they all connected in one way? Are they like a story that follows? Are they sequels? Are they a universe? Is it the James Michels universe?
So, actually, a little bit of everything you just said. I wrote my first book, Ice Rising. I actually have it right here. I actually have them all right here. This was my debut novel. This is one we were just talking about. It tells the story of Alexander Lincoln, who grows up in a bad area but with a solid family, and he's the oldest son. So he grows up with that sense of duty to protect, and certain unfortunate events kind of made him feel obligated to pursue a life of crime because that's what he felt like he had to do, protect those he loves. But he's also got a genius business intellect. So soon as he joins one of the gangs in the city, he's making money and he's building respect and he's got his own principles. But he's realizing that what comes with life on the street is a whole set of problems, not only from outside sources, but inside sources as well. So I'm going to go in chronological order of each book that I wrote. So I'm going to be doing a little bit of jumping back and forth because
that's okay.
Every other book I write is about the Ice series. However, when I finished Ice Rising, I wrote the Ballad of Johnny Carlo. And this was much different for me because Ice Rising is written in the first person. So here I am. I wrote Ice Rising, and I said, okay, great. I can write in the first person. Now I want to write in the third person. Now I want to have two protagonists. So this tells the story of, we talked a little bit about the mafia. This has a much more mafia-dominant atmosphere to it. Not so much total mafia thriller, but they are a very powerful force within this story. So Johnny Carlo is, the titular character, the namesake. He's a hitman for the New York City Mafia, got his own code of honor, no women, no kids, no cops. But then times are changing in the Mafia. They're getting more ruthless and they're merging with other groups. And it conflicts with Johnny's code of honor. So he ends up eventually leaving the Mafia, which is easier said than done. You don't just leave the Mafia. So he ends up, through contacts, through some help, he gets a new identity, runs down, goes into hiding in New Orleans in Louisiana. And while we're down there, we meet Alicia Abraham, who's a homicide detective in the New Orleans Police Department. And she's everything a cop's supposed to be: smart, tough, dedicated, honest. But she gets involved in this investigating a gang war that her father is involved in because he's the crime lord of New Orleans. So, the apple fell far from the tree. Johnny meets Alicia, and wouldn't you know it, they fall in love. Then Johnny finds out that the Mafia and their new partners have their sights set on New Orleans, and Alicia is in the way. So he picks his guns back up and goes back into the battle. So this one had more of a little bit of a romance, but not, it's not a romantic drama. This book has a little bit of something for everybody. You're going to have a character that's your favorite. You're going to have a character that's your least favorite. People you hate to love, people you love to hate. A lot of action. There is romance in there, of course. A little bit of a love triangle going on. And just a whole bunch of thriller and action. So this book is probably hands down took me the longest to write, about 15 months. And you can see this is about 500 pages right here. Yeah, second book. because all my writing is shooting from the hip. I have no idea what I'm gonna write until it's on the paper. So I'm just as surprised as anybody else. Okay, so I finished Ballad of Johnny Carlo, and I decided to revisit my Ice series. So I wrote Icebox. This took the least amount of time. And this is, this takes Ice, as we mentioned before, it takes Ice off the streets and puts him behind the walls of prison. So that's Alex's nickname on the street is Ice.
Yeah.
And so his initial plan while he's in prison is just do his time, get out, get back to work. Well, the problem is that he's told that he has to keep his crew loyal to him on the street while he's inside prison, which is kind of hard to do. Once you're locked up, people tend to kind of move right past you. Like, okay, he's done. He's out the way. So then he's got to figure out, how can I keep these guys loyal to me so that when I get out, I have a foundation to stand on. And he also has enemies that he made on the street that are now in prison with him. And I don't know if you ever had to avoid somebody before, but it's a lot much harder to do in prison.
Yeah.
Because you're locked up with them.
Yeah.
Okay, so I wrote Icebox. The challenge for me with Icebox was, how do I create a sequel, right? So my next book, each book is a new challenge for me. My next book, Life's Dark Corners, was, how can I write short stories? So Life's Dark Corners is my collection of short stories. I incorporated in this a bunch of different genres within the crime thriller category, like psychological, urban, pure thriller, things of that nature. I also incorporated a few civilians, so some of the characters in here are actually civilians. 5 different characters, 5 totally different walks of life, and they're actually all in the same universe as the Ballad of Johnny Carlo. So, to answer your question, the Ice series is in a different universe.
All right.
But Life's Dark Corners and the Ballad of Johnny Carlo are in the same universe. The characters don't, in this book, the characters don't like come together and meet.
Yeah.
But one of the stories in here is actually the origin story for the bodyguard of Leisha's father from Ballad of Johnny Carlo. So how he became the bodyguard to this man who would become the crime lord of New Orleans. So, Ballad of Johnny Carlo for me was so large, I knew I wanted to expand on it. So this gave me the chance to really kind of give that expansion while not necessarily being a prequel. Okay, so I wrote Life's Dark Corners. So what am I going to do next? I'm going to write another Ice book. And this one just came out. I posted this last month. It's Ice Rain. So what happens in this one? Ice is now out of prison. He's reacclimating back to society, repairing relationships with his family and whatnot. He has a new love interest. He has love interests throughout the book, the series. But there's tension between him and the leader the leader of the gang that he's in. He's a lieutenant. And he finds out that there are informants in the gang that could bring down his leader. Now, he's told this, and his contacts tell him, listen, just let things fall where they lay, and you could stand to have the throne. You could stand to become the boss. Just let things go. But he's divided, because it's like, okay, do I just let things happen, or do I actually stay loyal to my boss and find who these confidential informants are and take them out so I can save him, even though he pretty much at this point hates my guts. So he has that moral conflict, his ambition versus loyalty. Not to mention, he also has a conflict of love. While he was in prison, he met this woman, Regina, who kind of really held him down while he was locked up. So when he gets out, he starts a relationship with her. But he also has another love interest in the form of Viviana, who is actually the girlfriend of his boss. And so it's more of a forbidden love. So he's divided between, like, okay, do I choose this woman, Regina, who could very much lead me on a different path, maybe out off the street, or will I end up with Viviana, who could really be the queen that I need in order for me to become the king of the underworld? So again, it's another one of those, light or dark pathways that he must choose.
Awesome.
Okay.
So I take it you're working on something else now. Is it going to be a Ballad of Johnny Carlos related, or is it going to be Ice? Do you Are you going to bounce back and forth?
It's Bella Johnny Carlo related.
Yeah.
It's Bella Johnny Carlo related.
Cool.
It's actually set before the events of Bella Johnny Carlo. In the book, there's mentioned that the family that Johnny worked for had been in a mob war with a different family. The book that I'm writing now centers on that family and the events that lead up to the war with the family that Johnny Carlo works for. He's also actually a character in that book. Not so much, the main character, because I didn't want to make it a prequel. I just wanted to make it just an expansion, its own story. Kind of similar to Sin City. Yep. Have you ever seen Sin City?
Yep.
When they have just these different characters where, like, one guy, like the cop, will meet like this thug, and then we'll learn about the thug story and how they are kind of related, but they're not exactly like sequels or prequels. It's just their own different stories.
Yeah. Cool. So do you have like a wall of all your ideas that you kind of just are picturing the strings and the notes and tying things together, or do you just let things come out of you?
They just come out of me.
They come, yeah.
Typically what happens is while I'm in the middle of writing one book, the idea for the next one will start kind of burning a hole in my head. So by the time I finish the one book, I'm immediately ready to start working on the next one. And like I said, all my stuff is firing from the hip. I have no idea where the story is going to go. Apparently Stephen King has the same he has the same strategy as me. So that's kind of cool, that we have that in common. So I'm not crazy.
Look, I've got a book, and I don't write as much as you. I can't pump out 5 books in
Are you a writer, Jamie?
Yes,
are you
I
a
am.
writer? I never would have guessed.
Don't worry, the ad's already played. The ad's already played. No, I'm just saying I'm the same. Like I find it hard to map things out, and once I've mapped things out, I'm like I struggle to write. You got to just get into it.
No, I totally understand that. I totally understand. It was hard really getting into it first. I spent so much time telling people that I want to write a book, and I had to sit there and say, dude, are you actually going to do it or are you not? And what's interesting with that is that everybody has a different starting point. But for me, it was just chapter 1. Sit there and just put it on the title. Okay, you've got a chapter. Now let's get a paragraph on there. And, do you have to sit down? Do you have to outline? Some people do. Me, I don't need that. For me, that's a luxury, but it does come with a price. I'm also not good with deadlines either. I can't tell you when the next book is coming out if I'm in the middle of writing. I can probably tell you how many I'll write in a given year. Yeah. But I don't know when it's going to be.
Yeah. So how do you know when to stop? That's the question.
Never stop. Never stop until the ideas stop coming.
No, I mean like finish the book. How do you know when you've...
So that's a very interesting question. It's not exactly like a voice in my head, because I'm not trying to get institutionalized, but it's more of, I kind of like to think of it as like a teapot in my head that when I'm writing, the teapot is pouring out. Yeah. And just so, when you're pouring the tea out of the teapot, you can feel the weight getting lighter. Yeah. And you can kind of feel when it's nearing the end. And for me, that's how I can kind of tell when I'm nearing the end is I'm just feeling like, okay, things are really like I'm running out. Like the story's nearing its end. This book I'm writing right now, it's a heavy teapot. I tell you what, there's a lot in it. I'm 180 pages in, and I feel like I'm just scraping the surface. So now I'm kind of thinking to myself, will I make this into a series? Or Well, because the families aren't even at war yet. I mean, will I make this into a series, or will it just be like will it be a book that's longer than the Battle of Johnny Carlo?
But isn't that a good problem to have?
Excited about that, huh?
Isn't that a good problem to have? Like, that's a really good problem to have. You know, am I going to be? I've got so much stuff here. Am I going to make it into a series, or is it just going to be a really long book? I'd much rather have that problem than I don't know if I'm going to have enough for a book. You know what I mean? Like, that,
right.
To me, that seems like a good kind of problem.
I totally agree. I would choose this problem over writer's block any day, because I've had writer's block too.
All right, now Jamie.
Yes.
I'm going to throw you a curveball, James. Seeing as you know what, I'm very grateful. I'm broke at the moment because of health issues, but in Australia we have the Kindle Unlimited, and all of your books are on Kindle Unlimited. So I'm very, very happy because I am a massive, massive, massive organised crime mafia fan from way back, going back as far as The Godfather, Goodfellas, Casino. You know, you name it, I'm there. So I'm really happy because while we were talking, I always go on Amazon and check out the writer's books, and I was so happy when I saw that all of the Ice series and the Ballad book and the other ones, they're all on Kindle Unlimited for you Australian listeners. So jump on. It means if you pay that subscription, you can read James's books for free, which is great.
Yep.
Obviously buy them. Like, if I had the money, I would be buying the hardcovers because I'm building a shelf at the moment. But as it obviously seems you're a big fan of, you know, organised crime, of the mafia in itself. Aside from the Godfather series, which you have mentioned is your favourite of all time, what is your next favourite mafia related movie, organised crime related movie? I've got a couple of questions for you, but we'll go with that one first.
No, I like these questions. Fiction or nonfiction, or does it matter?
Doesn't. Look, give us one of each.
There you go.
Okay. I like it. Okay, so one of my favorite nonfictions, Goodfellas, Casino, Irishman. I gave you 3. I cheated.
Yeah, that's fine. That's fine. Okay. Goodfellas is Goodfellas and the Godfather series. They're on par for me as my favorite of all time. I can't count how many times I've watched them all. But yeah, look, I'll take that. And then you have fiction as well. Like, what are some of your fictional ones that you like?
Well, The Sopranos would be up there.
Yes.
So I've only actually I've YouTubed like all the biggest scenes, but I've only actually sat down and watched completely the first season. But I know pretty much everything that happens. I did this to myself. I know. Trust me, I have a lot of friends who have looked at me like that, especially because I'm like, the mafia guy, and I haven't seen all the Sopranos. I know it. I know it's a crime. But I'd have to say A Bronx Tale would probably be one of my favorite fictional.
That's a good one. That's a good one.
I love that. Fun fact: the guy that was in The Bronx Tale, the kid, was also in The Sopranos.
Oh, okay.
And actually, did 10 years in prison.
Wow.
Did
you know that?
Yeah, because I did not. I'm a massive Sopranos fan. That's a yearly watch for me. Me and my wife, we absolutely love it. I reckon it's one of the best tellings of organised crime. And not just organised crime, how it affects the families, how it affects, and it also obviously on the police side, the FBI and all that kind of thing. So it's my all-time favourite series of all time, and regardless of what genre it is, The Sopranos is my number one.
It's a monumental show.
Seriously, they don't make it like that anymore. And rest in peace, James Gandolfini. They couldn't have picked a better person for the role of Tony Soprano. And
Tony Sirico, too.
I just think that.
He passed.
Definitely. Yeah, he passed not long ago. Paulie Walnuts. Yeah, so many good. Frankie Valli was in it, from Frankie Valli in the 4 seasons. He played a mafia captain in some of the later seasons. I mean, that's Frankie Valli, the voice of New Jersey. You know what I mean? Like everyone knows who Frankie Valli is, and it's one of my all-time favorite shows. But I definitely agree with you. Goodfellas, 100%. Casino. There's a good sort of non-fiction one called. Have you ever seen Donnie Brasco?
I love Donnie Brasco.
Donnie Brasco with Johnny Depp.
Al Pacino,
it's a really
Al Pacino's my favorite actor. He's my favorite actor.
There you go.
Yeah, he's the GOAT.
Yeah, I could talk to you about those about organized crime movies for days and days and days, but I just wanted to get your take on what your favorites were in terms of fiction and non-fiction. And obviously there's not too many TV series out there that really tackle it, but I would recommend, if you ever take a break from writing 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, try and get through The Sopranos, because it is absolutely amazing. Absolutely amazing.
I will. I will. Again, I've seen all the big scenes. YouTube is wonderful but dangerous that way. I've spent years. I spent years just kind of looking at Sopranos through the windows. So I pretty much know who gets it and who doesn't get it. I'll definitely have to check it out. Oh, did you ever see Gotti, the 1999 one with Armand Assante?
With John Travolta? Oh, no, with Armand Assante. Yes, I did. Yeah, very good.
Yeah. I would have Armand Assante. In the Battle of Johnny Carlo, there's a mafia don called Dominic Argento, who's in his 80s. He's kind of like the unspoken boss of bosses. I would have Armand Assante play him. I would love it.
Have you had any interest? Have you had anyone reach out in terms of optioning some of your stuff? Because it's mafia stuff it's not going out of style ever. You know what I mean? I think have you had anyone that you can talk about reach out and sort of say, hey, look, we want to do the Ice series, we want to look into making the Ice series or something like that? I'm
always open to it. I think the Ice series would be a great TV show. I think Battle of Johnny Carlo would be an amazing movie. Life's Dark Corners, I'd be curious. Maybe they could do that, kind of like the American Horror Story, where just each season is its own story. So I'd be excited. I think they could all be great movies and shows.
Well, all it takes is one person to see this interview. Mm-hmm. And so, I always ask the question. It may seem silly sometimes, but
Matthew
you
Holmes,
never know.
If you're watching. Matthew Holmes.
Exactly. All it takes is the right person to be watching this, be on YouTube at 3:00 in the morning and, fall down a rabbit hole. You know what I mean? So, look, I think, I'm really looking forward to, I just got your books through Kindle, so I'm really looking forward to, I got nothing but time at the moment to sitting back and reading them on my tablet. So I'm really looking forward to that. You've definitely sold me on it. And I think, once things get a bit better for me, I'll be definitely making a purchase for my shelf as well. So
thank you so much. I appreciate that.
Forward to diving in. Oh, no, Mafia
and let me know what
is,
you think.
I love it. I will. I most certainly will. Definitely. I always leave reviews because I know how important they are. So 100%, I will most certainly do that. So anyway, that's my little tangent, Jamie. I'll let you get back on.
We've done what we always set out to do: sell a book to Ryan live on the podcast. He's done it many times,
and I'm so happy. I'm so happy that they're on Kindle because, as I said, not poor me or anything, but I'm very hard. I'm not working at the moment due to a medical issue, so I'm so happy that I can get a chance to read them. Yep. So thank you very much for agreeing to put them on Kindle Unlimited.
That's what I love about Kindle Unlimited. I'm on a budget myself. I've used Kindle Unlimited before. It's very nice, especially when you see so many great books come out, and you're just like, oh man, I can't. I'd love to go to Barnes and Noble, but I can't always make it. So I go on Kindle Unlimited.
Well, I always say we've got streaming services for movies and TVs. Why can't we have essentially one for books? And then Kindle Unlimited came out. And that's essentially what it is. It's essentially a streaming service for books. And it's for people like me. Again, I think you get a free trial with your Prime subscription, and then you get a discounted rate with your Prime subscription anyway. And who doesn't have Prime? I mean, you buy Prime just for the shipping alone. It saves you that much money. But it's just I was just so happy when I saw that. I thought beauty, because the more you kept talking about it, the more I was like, So it's made my day. Anyway.
It makes it easier than going into organized crime, which
exactly.
All right. Here's a curveball question for you. This is a hypothetical question for all you cops listening. But if you were going to become a mafia boss or an organized crime boss, what would be your thing?
Oh, like my racket? Man, it
waste management. It has to be waste management.
Waste management. Man, just the it would be something that would really get me. Probably like labor and stuff. Like Sammy Gravano. You know about Sammy Gravano, just the kind of racket he ran. Yeah. It'd be something like that. It'd be something like that where you just kind of become something that everybody's just got to deal with, instead of like, I wouldn't do like drug trafficking or anything because, there's just too much heat. People come after you and stuff. Yeah. It would be something that would, make me respectable in high society and whatnot. And just so everybody knows, I'm not a gangster in real life. We're talking hypotheticals here.
That's why
I'm not involved in anything illegal.
That's why I stressed on the word hypothetical.
This is all just fun. This is all just fun talk. Yeah. We're not conspiring.
What's that, Tony? No.
Prank caller.
Forget about it.
Look, thank you so much for coming on. Before we get you to plug your books, tell us where we can buy them and all that stuff. When I was looking into you for preparing for this episode, I noticed that in your bio it says you enjoy playing video games.
Yes.
Both me and Ryan just popped right up. See, both me and Ryan avid video game players. But what are you playing at the moment?
So I'm actually I tend to go on binges with video game series. So like I've done like Assassin's Creed like 2 or 3 times, Grand Theft Auto. Right now I'm on Resident Evil again.
Nice. Which one? Which one?
I just finished Revelations 2 again. So
nice.
I'm a big like story driven guy. I mean,
yep.
So I love the stories behind the games. So what I'll do is like I just played Resident Evil 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, Revelations 5, Revelations 2, and then I'll be playing 6, 7, 8 in that order chronologically of the story. I just do that. I did that with Assassin's Creed, which is my favorite, and it also helps my creativity because when I play video games and I write at the same time. So I get up, I drink my coffee, and then I start writing. I turn the PlayStation on. I have a PlayStation. I'm not exclusive, but that's why I play right now. I'll play for a little bit, and then I'll write, and then I'll play for a little bit, and then I'll write some more, and I'll play for a little bit, and I'll write, which is great. But it kind of did something to me. So like whenever I play video games now, I have to also be doing something. So I have to set it down every now and then, and also do something else. Like, okay, wow. Yeah, like okay, cool. I killed that guy. All right, now I have to post this TikTok right quick.
Well, now that you've done this, James, I have to steal it again, Jamie. Resident Evil is my all-time favorite video game franchise. So I absolutely love it. I've played.
Do we become best friends?
The remakes. I'm pretty sure we did. But I've played and finished them all. The remakes, you name it, I've done it. What's your favorite? What's your favorite out of all?
My favorite. For so long it's been 4. I'd say this. 4 is maybe the best one overall. 7 has been the best one since 4.
Okay,
and
I'll
then
agree with
8 came out. 8 was a strong sequel to 7.
Yep. That was the
and
Ethan
the
Winters
remaster-
story. It was kind of, yeah.
Yeah, the remakes of 2 and 3 were spectacular, in my opinion. I think they're very good. They're good for people getting into Resident Evil now that aren't fans of tank controllers. I wish. I loved the Resident Evil 4 remaster, but I think they really should have done 1 and Code Veronica first before they did 4. I really think they should have remastered Resident Evil 1 and Resident Evil Code Veronica and then done 4. That's just my take on it. The 4 remaster was amazing, but it was so strong already, you know, like I don't know which one I like better, the original 4 or the remastered 4.
Me personally, I like the remaster the better, only because I had the original 4 on GameCube when it first came out, and the controls on that were just absolutely horrible. I hated the controls on GameCube. So when they remade it, when they announced the remake on PS5 and PS4, I thought beautiful, and they used the same engine as they did for 2 and 3. But the good news is, I believe, and I think it's like 90% confirmed, we are getting a Code Veronica remake in the next 2 years.
That's the only one that's the only one I never beat.
Yep.
I had to skip it because it's so hard. I'm not a professional video game player. Confession time. I play on easy mode. I am more.
Me too. Because you're a story-driven guy. That's the same as me. I play it on easy mode because I'm a story-driven guy. I want the story and the experience. And then once I've finished it on easy, maybe the next time round I'll play it on the next level up because I've already got the story. You know what I'm saying? There's nothing wrong with that at all.
It's why I can't even watch Dark Souls.
No, I can't play. I go.
No,
I got my friend Chris.
Dude, those worlds are amazing. The Dark Souls and Bloodborne and all that. Like just these places that they create with I'm just gonna make this up, like City of the Dead or Graveyard of the Lost. I'm like, oh, this is so dark and depressing and gothic and amazing. And I wish that I could play it, but I keep dying at the first guy. And it's like
I consider myself
dying.
Well, I consider myself a pretty good gamer. Like I finish 99.9% of the games that I have. But our friend Chris recommended Dark Souls to me because I'd never played it. I missed it. I missed the Dark Souls 1, 2, and 3. And then when they released with the PS5 Demon Souls, which essentially is a Dark Souls remake, he's like, why don't you check it out? And I'm the same. I cannot make it through the first half an hour of the game. And I rage quit and I refuse to play it. I paid for it. Yeah. Back then I was working. I paid, I think, $120 for it. And I refused to play
it. Right. I wish they'd make an easy version. Just say, hey, you can fight these guys and they stay dead when you save your game, so they don't come back.
Yeah. And if you die, you get to a save point, they don't come back to life. But in Dark Souls, everyone just wants to come back to life all the time and kill you. It's not fair. So I gave up. I rage quit. So I'm with you there on Dark Souls. It's such an amazing idea and such an amazing world, and I would love to explore it. But I'm not. I'm not that good. Like, I'm a decent gamer, but I'm nowhere near that level where I can do that. Same thing with Elden Ring. I'm very scared to play Elden Ring because of the same thing. Because it's our mutual friend Chris has the same thing, and he goes, "Oh, if you like Dark Souls level difficulty, play Elden Ring." I said, "No, thank you." It's just that's that. But yeah, so
I've actually looked for like the easiest one. I've actually looked
that's it.
Like, which one's the easiest? Like, I'll try that one. Which one is it? Oh, it's Dark Souls 1? No, can't do it.
I've seen Chris play Elden Ring, and all I saw him was sneaking up on people and stabbing them in the back. And I'm going, come on, man, you're a warrior. Why aren't you facing them like a warrior? He's like, no, it's too hard.
But he's I won't say where he works, but he also works very high up in the corporate world. So that is the going strategy.
Yeah.
Sneak up behind them and stab them in the back.
Burn.
But no.
At the end of the day, whether he stabs in the back or fights him in front, it doesn't matter who's stronger. It matters who's alive.
Yeah.
All I'll say, James, in relation to Code Veronica, keep your eyes on the PlayStation Network around 2025. You will find apparently they're using the same engine as they did with the 2, 3, and 4 remake. So it's going to look amazing. And then after that we're getting 9. We're getting Resident Evil 9. Yeah. So it's Veronica, Code Veronica. Then it's 9. So then we're sweet.
After 7 and 8, they're gonna make 9. It's ambitious.
Yeah.
That's ambitious.
Apparently 9 is the Ethan Winters saga is done. Obviously. So apparently 9 is sort of incorporating his daughter into the Leon Kennedy, Resident Evil world, Chris Redfield kind of thing. So, yeah, they're sort of heading back to some of the original characters, but they're bringing Rose along for the ride. So, yeah.
Cool. I'm looking forward to that.
So it'll be good. It'll be a couple of years, but the way that they can't fail. I mean, the Resident Evil 4 remake was amazing. I played it. I got it just before I went into hospital, and I finished it in 2 days. When I say 2 days, I'm talking like it was a weekend, so it was 8-hour days. I finished it, and then that was the first game I played when I got out of hospital after 2 months. So I came home. I'm like, give me 2 days. I'll play Resident Evil 4 again, and it was just as exciting as it was. You know what I mean? You're right by saying it's probably the best Resident Evil game of all time.
Yeah.
Yeah. Definitely.
Now let's
but anyway, back to you, Jamie.
Let's do Assassin's Creed. What's your favorite Assassin's Creed?
Love Assassin's Creed, man. I do.
There's only one correct answer.
I know Jamie's answer. I'm not a fan of Assassin's Creed, but this is the one Assassin's Creed I played and I liked, and so I know what Jamie's answer is going to be. So
I know exactly what, and we're all about to say the same thing. Then, Black Flag.
Yes.
We are officially best friends.
Black Flag.
Now I feel like replaying it just by talking.
I say Black Flag because it can bring people that aren't really big fans of the Assassin's Creed thing. Yeah. It can bring them on and say, okay, well, we've also got a whole bunch of this that's, that you can also enjoy. And then when you're done with this, go to the storyline. Yes, Black Flag is amazing. God, I remember so fondly. Just sailing on the water. The guys were singing, and occasionally you don't have to fight anybody. Just sailing, and the guys were singing. Black Flag's probably my favorite. Rogue is up there too, and Syndicate, and Assassin's Creed 2. I'd have to say those are probably my favorites. Black Flag's up there, but love Syndicate because I love Victorian London. Yeah. Rogue was very similar. I hated it first. I grew to love it, and then Assassin's Creed 2 because I love the music.
The only other I did tell a lie. The only other one I got into was Odyssey, which was more like the role playing. More like an RPG. Yes. So that was interesting. I did enjoy that. I don't think I finished it, but I did enjoy that one as well. But Black Flag, Jamie was nagging me playing Black Flag ever since I've met him. And I finally did, and I thought, okay, all right, cool. I see what you're talking about now.
It's all about the sea shanties, man.
Yeah, 100%.
I was just like, I gotta
you gotta find those.
Well, I did try. I tried 1, 2, 3, and 4, and I just couldn't get into them. I don't know why. I just could not get into it. So I did try. It's not like I just didn't.
Yeah.
I didn't try any others like Rogue, Syndicate, Brotherhood, or anything like that. I didn't try that. But Assassin's Creed is I don't know. It's just not my cup of tea, but then I played Black Flag, and I'm like, all right, cool. At least there's one entry that I really enjoyed.
We'll get you there.
Awesome. Well, like I said a million times, thanks for coming on, James. Tell our listeners and viewers where they can get your books, where they can follow you on social media, if you have a website, all that. Plug yourself away.
Definitely. Okay, so we talked about earlier, I have 5 books out. Boom. This is all of them together in no particular order, but these are all of them. Ice, where is it? Ice Rising, Icebox, Ice Rain, The Ballad of Johnny Carlo, and Life's Dark Corners. All of them are available on Amazon for Kindle Unlimited, paperback, and Ballad of Johnny Carlo also has a hardcover version to it.
Oh, nice.
Anybody that wants to follow me, I'm on TikTok at James the Real Mike. That's my username. I'm also on YouTube as James Michels Books. I am on Facebook at James the Real Mike. I'm on Twitter at James Real Mike. I'm on Instagram as James E. Michels. And you can always reach out to me on my website, jamesmichelsbooks.com. It has my email subscription form. You can jump on there to get access to any deals that are coming out, new books, events, new content, what have you. All my books are on my website as well. You can go on there, you click on the book, it'll hyperlink you right to Amazon, where you'll find out a lot more about it. And my own personal email is on there. So anybody that would like a signed copy of my book, you can always hit me up. And or if you just want to say hello and just tell me what you thought about the book, you can always jump on there and say, hey, I hated your book, or I loved your book. So, and here's why. So I think that's everything. Yeah, that's where you can find me.
Awesome.
But what James forgot to say is, if you send him an email that said you hated the book, you'll be sleeping with the fishes. So don't worry about that. Forget about it.
Awesome.
You just send those emails to Uncle Ryan, and we'll get something happening. You know what I'm saying?
The men's shoes, bro.
Awesome. Well, thank you, listeners, for listening and watching. If you want to reach out, thetrueandthefictional at gmail.com. We are on Instagram, stories_podcast. We're over at Facebook. We're pretty much the first thing that pops up on Google. So we'll catch you next time.
And we worked hard for that.
Yeah.
See you next time.
See you guys.